Hello everyone, and we are continuing on with the August 2018 budget. I realize August has started, and so I'm late on getting this made, but better late than never. So, the last video ended with creating all of the budget categories and also how much money you should spend, and so we are moving on to being able to put in your transactions. So we're going to move over to the right, and again, if I'm looking over here a lot, I'm just trying to, I have my budget pulled up on my laptop and I'm doing this on my iMac so that I can do this right along with you. Okay, so what we're going to do is start in cell, so we're going to make this column I go between I and J, and we're going to shrink this down a little bit. And then just for formatting, just for how it looks. And then in column J, starting in J3, to match up with the other labels for the columns, we're going to put day of week, and then press tab, go over to column K, put in date, and then tab, go over to column L, put location, go to column M, put type, and then put in column N, put money, or dollars, or amount. And then if you want to, in column O, you can put notes if you need to clarify any specific information about your transactions. So I'm going to highlight all those words that we just made, and I'm going to align them center, and I'm going to bold them. And then I'm going to highlight everything above that. So in the second row, J2 through O2, everything above that I'm going to merge and center, and I'm going to call this can I spell it? Transactions. So then I'm going to center this, I'm going to make it bold, and I'm going to put a box around it just like the other one. So at this point, we have the labels for the column set up for the different transactions that you will do. So let's do an example. Let's say August 2nd was a Thursday, so let's say day of the week. Again, so these columns, I maybe put in too much information. You don't have to be this specific about your transactions, but I think for me, the more categories, the better. And then I can do like more breakdowns of my spending, like is there a certain day of the week I spend money on? Is there a specific location that I'm spending my money on? And so I'll just give an example. So let's say Thursday, August 2nd. Let's say I went to Taco Bell. And so the type would be your same as your categories. And so I could actually change it. I could say, categories. Because this is going to be, in this column, you're going to put the same exact information as what is over here. So Taco Bell, I would consider eating out. So I'm going to put in eating out, and let's say I spent $7.89 at Taco Bell, and then notes, late night run with friend. So then if I'm looking back, I'm like, why the heck did I go to Taco Bell that night? I'm like, oh yeah, I was having fourth meal or late night with Taco Bell. So then you can fill this out with the rest of your transactions, and then you might say, well, what's the point of doing this? Well, we're going to set up in column G, in the actually spent area, that's going to automatically pull in the transactions from the transaction part of the budget. Okay, so now that we have the transactions part set up, we're going to be able to automatically pull the transactions, and it'll determine what category it goes in, and it'll show you how much you've spent in the columns over here. So we're going to click in cell G4, get it so that you can type in it, and then we're going to type equals, so put the equals button, then we're going to type sum, S-U-M, if, and then open parentheses, so shift 9, we'll use that like front parentheses. So that's asking for a range. So sum if, when we are summing, it's looking for a range. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight, we're going to click on M4, and just drag it down a little bit. So again, it doesn't matter how far you go down. You can do M4 to M5, M4 to M100. We'll fix that in a minute, but I just have it from M4 through M21. And then we're going to put a comma. And then criterion, maybe I said that wrong. We're going to type capital E4. So then you'll see that it turns purple if you're using Google Sheets, and you should see that in E4, my category ATM is now highlighted. Now I'm going to press comma again, and then I'm going to click in the N over here, N column. I'm going to click in N4 and drag down to N21. Again, doesn't matter how far you drag down, we can fix those numbers later. And then close parentheses. Okay? So that says 0, and that should be 0 because nothing has been entered as being an ATM over on this side. So keep an eye on G4. I'm going to highlight that in yellow. It's 0 right now, but so let's go over to our transactions. Let's say instead of going to Taco Bell, or let's say Taco Bell was an ATM, for example. We type in ATM here, and since we spent $7.89, it automatically made that $7.89. So let's say we spent $20 we pulled out $20 at the ATM. This side automatically went to 20, and so if we budgeted $40, we've spent 20. We now have $20 remaining with those equations that we've already set up. So I'm going to change this back to eating out. Change that back to $7.89. And so we need to be able to make this pull for all the transactions over here. So we're going to go back to the cell, double click. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a $ in front of M4, in front of the M and in front of the 4, and then again in front of the M, in front of the 21. So this, with the $, it locks it in place. Because what happens if you would drag it down, it would move and mess up the columns, and so we want to just keep the column locked in place. And then, depending on how many transactions you have, so M4 starts here, and we could have it go all the way to M500. So hopefully, if you have 500 transactions a month, that's a lot, but hopefully that encompasses everything. E4 will stay as it is, no $, because we're not trying to lock that into place. Because over here, E4, when we drag the equation down, we want it to pull from this column. But now moving the N over here, we want this column to be locked into place. So we're going to put a $, which is shift and 4, in front of the N in front of the number 4 here, and then N through the 21. And then again, I'm going to change that to 500, because if you have, this just goes, you can have up to 500 transactions. You can increase it, but I don't really foresee anyone having more than 500 transactions on a everyday Joe, everyday person budget. Press enter, and so hopefully it looks like this now. And what's cool now is that I'll click in the cell, go to the bottom right corner, my cursor will turn into a plus sign, and I will drag this down throughout all my budgets. And so I'm going to reset the color. You'll see that automatically on the eating out, it pulled in the $7.89 that we did over here in the transactions category. So what we're going to do next is we're going to highlight everything over here. We're going to go up to currency, format it as money. So then $7.89. So if I have $50 to eat out, and I've spent $7.89, that means I have $42.11 left. So let's say on Friday, 8/3/2018, let's go down to rent. Let's say I made my rent payment, so I'll say landlord. Let's say category, we'll call it rent. And let's say I paid my $450 for my rent, and I'll say August rent payment. This $450 here reflects in that I've actually spent $450. So I budgeted $450 for rent. I actually spent $450, and I have $0 remaining in the rent category of my budget. Okay, so I said I would explain what the equation actually means, so let's go back to it. So we're saying so every time you have an equal sign, it's literally saying make the cell be equal to whatever comes after. So we're saying make the cell be equal to, so equals sum if. So we're saying sum if, and we're choosing a range so that we're not summing this range. So it's saying if the range that we've decided on, so it's the orange here, M4 through M500, if this range here has this criteria, so we decided that that criteria was whatever in cell E8, which is eating out. So we're saying if anything in the cell, anything from M4 through M500, if that says eating out, then sum up anything in the blue column right next to it. And so sum if, make the cell be equal to, sum, add it together, if anything in the M column is equal to eating out, then we're going to sum up those amounts in the N column, the corresponding N column that's right next to the column that says eating out. So hopefully that made sense. If not, if you play around with it and kind of change some numbers around and mess around with it, sometimes actually doing it yourself can help you better understand it than just me explaining it. Okay, so one more thing for this video. We're going to go to the remaining column and we're going to highlight everything from H4 through H21, so all of our remaining values, and we're going to go to so format and conditional formatting. So something pops up over here to the right. So we're going to say if anything from H4 through H21, format the cells. If the cell is less than $0, we're going to make the formatting style red. And then press done. Hopefully, maybe my picture box is in the way, sorry about that. But you'll press, so again, format the cells if it's less than, I lost it. If it's less than 0, then format it as the red, and then press done. And then you can X out. I'm saying if we go over our budget, it's going to make the cell red. So let's say I'd budgeted $450, but my landlord raised my rent, and I actually spent $475. Then we go over here. I budgeted $450. I spent $475. I'm $25 over, and that's going to automatically, with that conditional formatting, make that cell red. And that's going to draw your attention to it, and you're going to say, it's going to draw your attention and say, okay, I'm over in this area. What's wrong? What changed? Why am I over budget in this area? So hopefully this has been helpful. I'll have one more video to tie everything up. Again, I hope this video helps you to budget and prep for the month of August 2018. I know we're already in the month, but hopefully it can help you budget, save some money, and use that money for other things. Thanks for watching.